Welcome to the June 26, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
I think that's the fifth straight week of Andrew not fucking up on the intro there.
Hey.
To my own standards, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah, I thought it was pretty awful. I don't know.
Yeah.
No comment.
Wow.
That's like way funnier than my line.
It's very harsh. But we have the OG3 for the first time on the new channel. I want to thank everybody who has already migrated to Corrective Consciousness on YouTube. Of course, if you are still on Lotus's channel, please make sure to click the link below to go to the new home of Corrective Consciousness. We will have, I would say, 3 more weeks of this, and
including this. So I guess after you've heard this podcast, then two more
recons after this. It should be 3 more core cons.
Yes,
is when we'll have our last show on Lotus's channel. However, we will continue going on the Corrective Consciousness YouTube page. Plenty of people have started to subscribe, but you should do the make the effort in order to go over there. Still have some people commenting on the old page, and that's fine. But we want to get the conversation going on the new page in the new Corrective Consciousness feed. So please do make it over. We had some people with some enthusiastic reactions to the new format and the new home. So some people were very excited to be some of the first people talking on the page. So I'm very happy about that. So without further ado, I did want to talk about a couple things this week. I don't know how much ado I do have, but
maybe with a little bit of ado.
What is it that you do, Mr. Number 2?
Like you do.
But I did want to react to a release that came out this week. So Mario Tennis Aces came out this week for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I am a big fan of arcadey sports games. I'm not a big fan of simulations or even actual sports. But
yeah, that's the thing. Like, NBA Jam is fun, but, like, the Madden equivalent of basketball might be like, I don't know, like Madden
NBA
2K or whatever.
Yeah,
NBA
it's the same
2K.
with me, because I'm not huge into sports in general, but usually, like, the more arcadey sports games kind of draw me into them, because it's more than just if I don't know the sport, I can still play, because it's like a little above, a little over the top of what you might expect from the actual sport itself.
Yeah, like NFL Blitz or something, where it's just like it's like there's no way this would happen in a real football, like real life event. It's just crazy fun.
Mega Man Soccer.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I actually went through a phase where I collected all of the best versions of all of these arcadey sports games. Like I got the last NHL hits and last NFL Blitz before they became there was like a year where they changed over to like a sim format for those games, and it like totally ruined the franchise. NFL Blitz kind of had a resurgence. They kind of just did a non-licensed Blitz game
Nice.
2 times. I don't know if you guys remember that, where they kind of did their own extreme Blitz game with no NFL license, but that was pretty cool. But they had like a really over the top like story mode that was really fun. But I just love this kind of thing, like MLB Slugfest, like the whole bit.
Was the over the top game, was that Blood Bowl? Was that what that was?
Which one?
The over the top football game, was that Blood Bowl, where it was just like monsters and stuff?
There's Mutant League.
Well, Mutant League is old. I mean, this is like a few years old though. Like, is Blood Bowl the game I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I think Blood Bowl is the game that you're thinking of.
Yeah, there were Blitz games for the 360 and PS3.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. It was just called Blitz 1 and Blitz 2.
Okay.
But they were really fun. But they kind of like went out of favor for a little bit, except for stuff on the Wii, that kind of thing. But I've always kind of liked the Mario ones the best. Now I didn't start liking them really until they hit the Game Boy Color N64 era, because before that they were a little antiseptic. They weren't that much fun. Like the original Golf or NES Open Golf were just kind of rote.
It's
like
very much a simulation golf where it's
exactly.
I mean, too much.
Yeah, like it was nice and simple because it's on the NES. It's not like the intense micromanaging you might do in newer games, but yeah, it's golf. You're playing golf.
It was stat driven and had like a lot of numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and,
like with Mario, you have stats, but there's a lot more personality to the whole thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of flavor, like super hits and things like that. So, especially with the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games, those were like full blown RPGs where you could like level up a character. Those have kind of gone. These games have been made by Camelot, who used to make the Shining series for Sega.
Okay.
Okay.
Shining in the Darkness, Shining Force, also Shining Revenant, Shining Holy Ark.
Shining
all
Tears.
of those games. Well, actually, they stopped before they were making those games.
Okay.
So you'll notice the quality of those games going down after the Saturn era. The Shining games for the PS2, none of them were made by Camelot. Camelot was working for
Shining
Nintendo.
Force Neo, Shining Force Exa, those.
Correct.
Did Camelot make the... Wow, I forgot the names of them. What's that game where they're RPGs?
Golden Sun?
Oh, yeah, the Golden Sun. Did they make the Golden Sun games?
Yep.
Yeah, and Beyond the Beyond, which I think was the first one.
Beyond
it wasn't the first, but yeah.
Beyond the Beyond was the first PS1 RPG.
Yeah,
I think that was released
right.
in
Obviously,
the US,
the Shining games came before that because that was on like the Genesis, like Shining in the Darkness.
Shining in the Darkness was, I believe, their first RPG. But they made the Golden Sun games. They are well known. You could tell you're playing a Camelot game by their menu system. Generally, like they have yes and no. They have like an icon of a guy nodding and shaking their head in all their games, basically. So you know the tell of those. So they made the ones that they made right before this generation weren't that great. You had the 3DS Mario Tennis game and the Wii U one, and they weren't that good. They weren't well received.
From what I heard, they were like good at what they did. Well, I can't speak for the 3DS game at all, but the Wii U, the big complaint I heard was that it was bare bones and like not sure if online only, but I think only like worth it online.
Well, that was kind of the point of it is like these games were known for their story modes.
Yeah.
And that's what appeals to me because most of the time I don't play multiplayer. I kind of just
well, not to mention unlocking stuff. Actually,
it's more fun.
For a slight tangent, I'm not 100% on this, but I heard that when Smash Ultimate comes out, there's going to be a bunch of characters you have to unlock because that was something that kind of bugged me a little bit about the Wii U version. Like, I mean, I would go to friends' houses and play it, so whatever. But I like unlocking stuff. And the Wii U, I think about everyone was unlocked and everyone else was DLC.
Yeah, so this would be Mario Tennis Ultra Smash.
For the Wii U,
yeah, for the Wii U. And it just did not live up. I mean, IGN gave it not that IGN is like...
Yeah, I was going to say, ooh, IGN, the company
resource.
That gave God Hand a low grade because it was hard, when it's literally in its trailer that the game is hard.
Yeah, I mean, they gave it a low score because the guy couldn't figure out how to read the fucking map in the game, which isn't difficult.
Wait, the map... Wait, what game is this?
Nier.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought you were talking about Mario Tennis. I'm like, what? How is it possible not to be able to read the map in that game?
No, they're infamous for like the guy said, I didn't know where to go. This game is hard, and people in the comments were like, go to the big gigantic X on the fucking map.
Yeah. Well, the thing I remember was the low score for God Hand for being such a hard game, and somebody made a video response of him destroying the first level in the game. It was pretty great to watch. To be fair, you have to already be good at the game to do that, but it was still entertaining.
Yeah, there's a few other notable ones. I mean, there's Patapon 3 for the PSP.
Yeah.
That guy's their reviewer savaged it.
I didn't even know about that.
See, I liked Patapon 3, but at the same time, it was like I never beat 1 and 2 because they were too grindy. So 3 was too much more too quickly. I enjoyed the game, but it would have been much better if 3 was their first one and that was it, because it was kind of getting a little repetitive by that point.
Yeah, but like this guy like had no appreciation for the game whatsoever. Like he clearly, like, that's not a poorly made game. You can't give it a 3.
That's the thing. So many people lose track of the fact that, like, I don't like a game does not translate necessarily to a low score. Like, I don't care for football. I'm not going to blast every Madden game ever made. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, and so, like, when you have a Mario Tennis game, there's a certain expectation, because Nintendo and Camelot usually go all out when they make these things. They give you a lengthy experience. You could play these games for 20 hours or more.
Yeah.
And you can unlock characters and do a story mode. But I was lucky enough to be able to get a chance to play the game a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. So far, I've been... it has some goofy story about Waluigi and Wario stealing a racket, like an ancient racket from a temple.
The funny thing is the fact that it's a story focused on Waluigi and Wario just being dumb. That's kind of reminiscent of the GameCube game.
Yeah.
And the GameCube
I think that's what
game
they were getting at.
Probably. By the way, I know I've showed you Vice. Pyro, have you seen the opening movie for the GameCube Mario Tennis?
I may have in the past, but I remember nothing about it.
It's insane. It's like multiple minutes long for freaking Mario Tennis. It has a whole sort of plot and everything, and you're like, this is way more effort than I would expect from a Mario sports game's opening movie. And the ending credits was also pretty funny, because it was like, it did the Toy Story 2 thing where the whole movie is made in CG, but like you'll have the actors like this, like you'll have Woody like tripping on something, like, whoops, bad take, ha ha ha. So Mario Tennis's ending credits did that, like Wario flubbing something. It was kind of funny. Like the whole thing was a movie the whole time.
Yeah, and it's also cool to see Waluigi in something.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who Waluigi is like their favorite Nintendo character.
He just never gets a chance.
Really only in the sports games and the party games.
Yeah, and Nintendo acknowledges this. There was actually a recent Did You Know Gaming about specifically Waluigi, and apparently, I didn't even know this, but by this time, because his first appearance was N64 Tennis, so he has been around for a long time now. He's apparently been in like 50 games. But he's never...
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Mario parties and sports, but he's never really had like a main role, and Nintendo has directly addressed this with some like flavor text in, for example, the Waluigi color themed costume in Mario Odyssey, where it's like, you know, this like something about like not getting the spotlight is in the description, something like that.
He gets even less attention than Luigi does.
Yeah, they had a whole year of Luigi. Like, you know what? We've been snubbing Luigi for so long. Waluigi is just like, no, that's the joke. It's like, oh.
So, it's pretty great though. He seems to have like a more prominent role in this game.
Yeah.
So he's like possessed by an ancient racket, which is hilarious to me, because they played tennis in ancient times.
Like you do.
Because that's what they did.
Well, sure they did. Haven't you watched Slayers Next? They have tennis in fantasy settings. Oh, by the way, one other thing regarding Waluigi is even his existence is kind of a joke, because I think like the only reason he was made was when they were making the original Mario Tennis. Like, people kind of naturally had doubles partners, except for Wario. Like, Wario was the odd man out. Like, Yoshi and Birdo, DK Jr., I think, was in 64, Peach and Daisy, Mario Luigi. Wario's just by himself. Like, I guess we're doing a Wario guy for Luigi. It's either that or no Wario.
I also love that Waluigi board that somebody made.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I showed you this. It's just a Ouija board, but it has his face, and it goes wah.
Oh, that's great. Like the yes or no things are wah and wah.
No, it's just W A A A A A.
Yes.
Like.
So like you're moving the hand over to. Oh, it looks like it's going to A. Like okay.
It's really fantastic. Anybody type that into Google image search, they'll get a
Waluigi board. That's so. Is it spelled like WAOUIJA? Like Waluigi?
I'm sure it is. I don't remember, but when I saw that, I was like, yes,
That's
I
fantastic.
want this as an official Nintendo product. I would buy it. But yeah, I mean, I've been starting to play it, and I'm having a good time. Like what's cool about it is it's not just tennis matches. Like they're mixing it up with mini games and stuff in between. Like one of the early tasks that you have to do is deflect fireballs from fire plants.
Okay.
Back at them.
Oh, cool! With your tennis racket.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
clever.
And you need to hit certain ones of them in a special way, or else they'll break your racket. So
And I remember the.
Isn't that
really neat.
isn't that part of the game too? Is if you try to hit the ball a certain way but fail with the timing, then it damages your racket.
Yeah, there is racket damage in this game.
Here's actually regarding that. Here's a question: because can you turn that off for casual play?
I'm not sure. I haven't played multiplayer. I'm sure there's a way to turn on and off handicaps and things like that.
Okay.
I've been playing the story mode, so you do level up in that as
nice.
Mario, which is pretty neat. Most of my experience in this series comes from the GBA and GBC games, where you were kind of like Avatar kind of characters, random boy and random girl, going through the Mushroom Kingdom. Yeah. And you were leveling up those characters.
Weren't they like Plum or something weird like that?
I don't know.
Because I think you could unlock like a weird like human character I've never seen before in Mario Tennis 64 with some kind of code, and it was like, what?
Yeah, you can actually unlock those characters with the transfer pack.
Actually, I was going to say, speaking of which, yeah, Waluigi, again with the Did You Know Gaming, Waluigi is not on Mario Tennis Game Boy Color, but he is with the transfer pack. So like that's something that you can only get via the legit cartridge versus like a virtual download.
Yeah. I was actually going to. I had a pretty good game going with the GBC one. I got pretty far in it, so I'll probably end up doing that with the transfer.
Yeah, and that actually blew my mind, by the way, because until like a couple of days ago, I really, really thought that the transfer pack's one and only purpose was for Pokemon Stadium.
It pretty much is. I mean, there's not much else.
Yeah, but I just never knew there was anything else. So it's like, oh wow, like. So there is a reason to keep it around for, like, maybe it's only one or two other games, but it's still one or two more than I thought.
Yeah. What I like about this type of game, though, is tennis in particular is a really easy game to for anybody to play. And that's kind of why, I mean, tennis was the very first video game to be invented. Tennis for Two on the oscilloscope, and then Pong after that. I mean, tennis is such an easy concept and easy thing to pick up and play. I particularly wanted to pick this up because my girlfriend doesn't play any video games, really. So it's good to have a game like this, so she'll play that with me. You know what I mean?
Sure. And that was, I mean, this is a couple of generations late, but that was Nintendo's whole campaign for the Wii, where they had commercials with like old people playing games, like your parents playing games with Wii Bowling or whatever. It's like, fun for the whole family. Anyone could do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to mention that because I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think anybody pretty much can have fun with these games. So I wanted to move on to a little bit of TooManyGames here. I know that, Lotus, you wanted to talk about a few things here.
Oh, sure. I mean, it was a fun convention to go to. We're recording this on the Sunday, but by the time you hear this on Tuesday, it'll have been, this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And, one of my favorite things about going to conventions is the dealer's room. And too many conventions.
Too many conventions.
Oh no! TooManyGames is pretty much like a giant warehouse that, with the exception of a couple rooms, just is a dealer's room. So like the whole place is a dealer's room, aside from some panels on the side when you first enter. So it's just super cool to go around and look at what they have to offer, especially when, usually conventions will have varying things in the dealer's room, like artist's alley, like an artist alley section, people selling swag, people selling games. If it's an anime convention, people selling anime. This is like there were some artists selling swag, but the vast majority were selling various video games, and that's kind of my jam. And the artist stuff was freaking cool too, anyway. So it's just really cool to.
Yeah, I
was just gonna say it's like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too, like, what have they improved since last year or 2 years ago?
It just keeps getting bigger, and it's getting more of a draw in terms of just the con goers in general, but also more people as guests are interested in coming along. They had freaking Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, at this Too Many Games.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't see him there, but I think it would have. I told Vice this already. I think it would have been amusing to get him to autograph a copy of Jet Set Radio Future, because like that's the game he was in that no one knows about, including me, until a couple of years ago. He voiced like the boss of that game, and he just talks in a semi-normal voice, so it's really weird to hear him like just talking.
Yeah, I mean, Too Many Games used to be a very regional thing. It used to be very local, kind of to PA, New Jersey. So you would see like a lot of the store, the video game store owners, the local video game store owners from nearby, but and a couple of the people that of course are running it, but it was a very small convention for a long time. But they've gotten some star power. They got a lot of YouTubers to come along, and James Rolfe lives in New Jersey, so it's not very far for him to go.
But there were two people I came to see, like Bennett the Sage and Linkara, and they have to fly in. But they have multiple years in a row. Like it's like third year, and I think he lives in like California right now.
Yeah, I mean, James was running his own booth and selling merchandise for Angry Video Game Nerd, and he's a hell of a nice guy. He's like one of the. He's always very humble, and he's a very matter of fact guy in person.
Yeah,
he's nothing like his character.
Like if you ever watch his vlogs, like that's what he's like. Where like, or even stuff where he's just talking about. Like where he's doing like the Monster Madness stuff, he doesn't really do that anymore. But when he talks about movies, like it's just very low key, and that's how he is in real life. He's just like a nice guy.
He's gonna he talked about how he was going to do a big thing on Halloween when the new Halloween comes out. So
okay, I guess he's not doing Monster Madness in the sense of 31 days in a row. That's fucking crazy, and I can't believe he did it for as long as he did. It was like 10 years. That's ludicrous.
The schedule for that is just insane. I'm sure it took a lot out of him, and he's a father now, so
he has so much real life stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean YouTube and producing is his job. I mean, he doesn't have a second job, but he's kind of lucky in a sense that, not to take away from him or anything or what he's done, but he got in on the ground floor on YouTube kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was a good move.
He has millions of followers as a result. He's just had the notoriety. He's one of the first people to be around and trailblaze in this regard. So he luckily can have an entire channel and employ like a team of people, Mike Batey and things like that.
Who was also
I think it's really cool. Yeah, no, they're both awesome dudes.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to go up to them at a convention or anything like that, because they're very down to earth.
Yeah, and by the way, regarding going back to Pyro's question of how Too Many Games has changed in previous years, we both said that star power has increased, but piggybacking off of what Vice said about how the convention was local in terms of vendors, there are some bigger vendors as well, like Video Games New York. Not that they're that far away, but they move around to large conventions. They were here this year. Stone Age Gamer, the group that makes the EverDrives, they actually weren't here this year, but they were the past couple. Limited Run Games was there, I think, for the first time this year.
That was a nice surprise. They even had some of the games that were out of stock.
That's the thing, like, because we've talked on the podcast before about how, I think it's gotten better lately, but how some of the games that go quickly when they're announced, like within a few minutes, that's a bitch for ordering them. But here, like, if you happen to be at the convention, it's like you can just pick it up off the shelf and not worry about shipping or confirming with PayPal or this and that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see, because I know that we were there one of the first years, or I joined.
Yeah, you and
I think
first years. Mr. Ryu came, yeah.
And it was really small, and I knew that I kind of was like,
yeah,
because I don't want to go to too many conventions. Just it can get costly going to too many conventions. But I'm glad that it's actually becoming big. I mean, ideally, it would be like the next MagFest in a way, because it's a lot closer.
Way closer.
Yeah, not only that, but it's very close to my apartment.
For you, it's like really close.
Like if you want to like spend the night, you know, you don't need to get a hotel. You don't need to do the hotel thing. If you need a place to rest, you can come to my place. You know, we can even do other stuff outside of that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool if it got kind of big. I mean, that space, I think, though, doesn't really allow for it to get too big. Because when you think about it, that, like, in terms of MagFest, there's tons and tons of space they have, whereas this is just like one floor.
No, that is true, but MagFest is also very panel-oriented with this giant board game and card game space. If TooManyGames started accommodating board game and card game spaces, that would be a whole other thing. But
I thought they did have a board and card game area.
Maybe they do. It might have been a side area. They do? Okay, but like this, it's still largely a dealer's room, so like I don't know if it would get MagFest big, but it would be cool if it got bigger. If it did get too big, like MagFest has gotten too big before and changed locales, so like I guess we'll see if that ends up happening. But at this point, you could still, like, it's still easy to walk around. It's not like New York Comic Con where it's literally difficult to move depending on where you are. This did not really have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, what was cool though is there was a good crowd of people. So the vendors, it was worth it for them to be there. I talked to Mad Gear, who's perennially one of my favorite stops along the way. I've been supporting him for, like, you know, good 15 years now. You know, at every convention, I always stop by and talk to him, and we just enjoy talking to each other. And in fact, I picked up a NegCon. Do either of you know what that is?
No. Does it make fun of you whenever you play it? Does it neg you the whole time?
You better renege that right now.
Wow. It's a pretty cool controller made by Namco, where it has an analog function to it before there were analog sticks on the PS1.
Oh wow!
So it has kind of a pivot in the middle where you can turn it, and that can serve as a racing wheel.
What do you? Oh, okay, so
you could bend it in the middle. You could bend the controller in the middle.
Oh, curious.
And it's kind of like having a almost like an Arkanoid.
I was wondering about that, like a twisty knob, like Ikari Warriors or something.
But you kind of twist it like both sides of the controller, so it pivots around the center of the controller. It's really neat, and it also has pressure-sensitive buttons that are easier to press than the PS2 ones.
Yeah.
So like you can actually, it'll sense how hard you're pressing down on, like, the brake, let's say, or the gas. What's really neat about it is I was thinking about trying out some of the old Ridge Racer games, because some people really love them, and I like arcadey type games. Like I like Outrun, so I'm sure I would like Ridge Racer, and those games are apparently best played with the NegCon. So I picked that up while I was there.
Actually, speaking of best played with this particular weird controller, at the Mad Gear booth, I saw, and Vice, I think you were with me for this, we saw a very specific PS1 controller designed like for Resident Evil 1 and 2, and I guess 3, but this must have come out after 2. and the controller layout was a bit different. It felt a bit wider than a regular PS1 controller, and the buttons were labeled oddly in English, like so it said dash below the X button and stuff like that. The R buttons were not where they're typically placed. It was placed more like where a trigger would be. This was the weirdest part. You know how like every controller, like every Xbox and PlayStation 1 controller has like two hand grips for each hand, and then the joystick is like you reach your thumb above for the joystick and you reach your right thumb above the buttons. The right grip on the PS1 controller was shaped like a pistol grip. So it fit your hand pretty damn well, and like the trigger button was kind of where a gun's trigger would be, and it felt more intuitive than I thought it would be, because I see a different controller. I'm like, well, how am I going to use this? But it actually felt like it made sense. And the kind of funny thing was it came with a little instruction manual, brochure, whatever thing, which showed you like what the D-pad buttons were for, what various buttons were for, and I'm like, I think I know what fucking buttons were for. But what I thought was kind of entertaining was that every picture in the thing was from Resident Evil 2 and Leon, but there was one thing that wasn't, because in Resident Evil 1, the D-pad allowed you to rotate items in your inventory to look at them better, and in Resident Evil 2, you could only view items in 2D, so there are all these Resident Evil 2 pictures, and all of a sudden, there's this one, like, odd one out of, like, a rotated handgun from your inventory from Biohazard 1. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I didn't really kind of get the point of the Resident Evil one. I didn't see how it enhanced the experience, really.
It probably just feels more comfortable. I mean, it looks cool. It just probably felt more comfortable firing the gun. Like, it fits your hand pretty well. And you could use it for any game. It was, like, I don't know. It makes me think of the chainsaw controller for Resident Evil 4. It's just like, you know what? Here you go.
Yeah, so just to give guys an update, I showed Lotus and Pyro here a picture of the NEGCON to get a bit of a
interesting.
Yeah, a bit of a better look at it. So it you should take a look at it because it's pretty neat. You get additional functionality out of this. At least the Resident Evil one is, I feel, is more of a novelty. This one has analog functionality when the system didn't have that at first. So there are a number of really cool games that this is compatible with. Like, you could play the original Pole Position on the Namco Museum, and Pole Position 2 on Namco Museum Volume 1 and 3, respectively. You could play the Wipeout games with it.
Nice.
You could play the Ridge Racer games, Gran Turismo games, a few other racing-type games. But you could also play Tempest X3 on the original PlayStation, which is pretty cool. And I love Tempest type games. And also the Ace Combat games.
Nice.
So,
oh, by the way, speaking of novelty, I don't know if you saw Advice. This was not a Mad Gear or somebody else, but somebody actually had in box the goofy ass Katana PS2 controller for Onimusha 3.
I did see that.
It's just like, come on.
Not only is it goofy, it came out for like the most obscure game in the entire fucking series, which is Onimusha Blade Warriors. So,
it was Blade Warriors, not Onimusha 3?
No, it was Blade Warriors that it came out.
Is Blade Warriors the fighting game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Smash Brothers almost. Yeah.
And from what Mr. Ryu told me, like, the character's stats like make sense. So if you choose to play as some goon, then you have like no health and will die immediately. It's like, oh, come on.
That's hilarious, but also kind of dumb.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like, why am I playing this?
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember a game called Silent Bomber?
I know of it.
It sounds familiar.
Was that the This Game Blows?
Yes. So it had a multiplayer mode, but you could also play it like single player, where it was like an arena mode, where you fight other characters, and you could basically be all of the bad guys in the game.
Nice.
Like a good many of the bad guys in the game, and like you could just be a mook and die. Like, it was just kind of funny. I think you could do that in Guardian Heroes as well. You could pick from every sprite in the game. I think
I love stuff like that.
In the battle mode, so it's just pretty neat. Moving on to other things that I enjoyed. So Kurt Collada was there from Hardcore Gaming 101.
Yes.
Kurt Collada has been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and I actually started a lot of my internet presence on his websites. In fact, the first website that I read regularly was the Castlevania Dungeon, which was one of his first websites. And I read that as like a 12-year-old, like when I first was introduced to the internet. And I literally used to print out the stuff he wrote and bring it into school so I could read it. You know what I mean? Just like stuff like that, and pour over all of the work that he did. When I was a kid, and it's cool that we're friends now. And
he doesn't even live that far away either.
Yeah, not at all. And I wrote a couple articles, or helped write a couple articles for his website back in the day, and have been on a few of his podcasts for his website. So after all these years, we're still good friends, and he is doing awesome with his website. I have to let people know that his website might not be one of the most trafficked places on the internet, but he's one of the most well-respected places on the internet.
Yeah, it is very, like, it's the site that has that weird information on that game you were looking for that no other website has. Or if they do, they cite Hardcore Gaming 101.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of Wikipedia articles cite the articles on his website.
Yeah, and by the way, regarding pouring over his stuff, like now, the both of us, I think, have bought every book he's published as well, whether digital or physical or whatever.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, he just came out with NES Cult Classics, which I'll be excited to receive in just a couple of days, because I ordered it online.
Yeah, I bought it from him in person because I knew he was going to have copies of it. Mm-hmm. And it has some really great games in it. Like, it has like all the Sunsoft games that were a lot of fun. Like, it has Blaster Master in there, Gremlins 2, the two Batman games that were for the NES. There's some really, really cool stuff in here, and he does a fantastic job laying out like the books. They're so professionally done. They are not amateurs in the slightest. In fact, it's even better than a lot of the professional stuff that I've seen. He puts a ton.
Would you consider this his job?
It's not. It's not. I know for a fact. He works for an insurance company. He's an IT guy for an insurance company. I think he would like this to be his job, but it's just. I think it's more of a labor of love. I mean, a lot of times he's not the only person that works for the website. Like he actually pays the people that write articles for his website. He gives them credits in the books. He gives them, he pays them for a lot of the work that they do. So he doesn't have the lion's share of the the money that's generated by the website and the books. I mean, he's a very fair man. If you ever talk to him, he one of the things that he's always wanted is for people to be able to have a place where they're not cheated for doing their work and things like that. Because a lot of his friends and even himself have worked for publications in the past, like Wizard Magazine. When we were growing up, he actually has friends and family that have worked at these places and gotten stiffed for doing freelance work. So he takes that kind of thing very seriously. So it's really cool that he has like a really great output. Like I was telling my girlfriend, I was just like, this was written by my friend, and she's just like, oh yeah, it's like, no, like he wrote this and he has fans, he has people that buy this, and she's like, and you're only sort of his friend. I was like, no, like I went to his wedding, like, I mean, like we hung out with him during the Super Bowl. I mean, and she's just like, this is insane. She's like looking at this, and she's just like, she could already tell, like, even without knowing much about the subject matter, that how good it looks. And how appealing it looks.
Even if you can't read, like the layout alone is just incredible.
Even if you can't read.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're reading like a foreign edition of the book, which does exist, by the way, like it just looks gorgeous.
He actually just got published in Spanish.
Yep.
Nice.
Hardcover version of his Castlevania book.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see him succeed. My girlfriend was like, how many books does he have? And I was like, actually, I have an entire bookshelf of the books he's written.
Yeah. What is it, like over 10 right now?
I'm sure it's close to 15. Yeah. And that's including like his first book is insane.
His first book is ludicrous. Yeah, it's like this massive tome for like adventure games on the PC, and like remember that game genres kind of like are in vogue for a while until they're not. So the 90s was adventure era, so there's a shit ton of those.
He has every game that you could think of before the modern era, like last 2 years in there. Like
there is exactly one game I can think of that is not in there because it's like stupidly expensive and hard to get.
Yeah, so he just has done a really good job. I mean, they're colorful, they're fun to look at, and they're well priced. You can buy them for $20.
And again, like especially this is gonna kind of like tweak things in a certain direction, but like especially if you're our age, I think, you know, we're in our early 30s. That PC game adventure book is really gonna hit a lot of nostalgic things. I don't know. I lost it.
Like chords. It's gonna strike
chords. Hey, there you go.
My favorite of his books have been the Sega arcade ones because there's some obscure stuff in there. I like his Data East one that he put out because Data East is fucking weird. I like the Castlevania one is extremely comprehensive. The only thing it doesn't cover is the anime because it came out after the book. It has every other game.
And by the way, what makes his books even higher quality is that he can talk intelligently about the original Japanese versions because he can actually read Japanese. Like with like Trio the Punch, for example, that game never came out in America, although I think there might be like fan subs for it or whatever, but like he could play the PS2 game and get away with it.
Well, don't just glance over that game. Watch a YouTube video at least of somebody playing Trio the Punch. It's basically WarioWare before there was WarioWare. Like it's just a weird, bizarre, like what the fuck is happening game.
You can only you can approximate the genre for that game. Like, well, most of the levels play like this. Yeah.
The best way is to say it's mini games. You don't ever know really what the objective of the level is until you're in it.
Oh wow! What system was this for again?
It's an arcade game.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it did have a PS2 release, but Japan only. Like, I mean, it's mostly a beat 'em up. You walk right and you punch things, but like, don't think that it's that simple.
there's a just to give you an idea. You walk forward, punch a couple guys, and then at some point the moon in the background comes down and tries to attack you. Like the moon gets angry at you.
The funny thing is though that like Mario 3 did that.
That's true too. The sun.
That was a twist, man. Like,
that sun is freaking angry.
Yes.
Yeah. He does not like Mario for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think the funniest part of that is that, like, oh, it's so small because it's far away and in the sky. Like, no, it was 5 feet from you the whole time. That's his actual size.
Could you imagine, like, even as hot as the sun is, like, how hot a small sun would be nearby?
Yeah.
Like, how hot would that be?
I've never thought of that, but yes.
Hot enough to instantly kill you when it touches you.
Like, basically the size of your body chasing you.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying.
Not to mention, it's basically an angry face the size of your body. Yeah. Like, fuck that.
It's Evil Otto.
Yeah, it's like it's like the moon in Zelda before it gets too close. It's like, nope.
But one last little bit about his books. They're insanely comprehensive. So just to give you an idea, he'll go over not only every game in a series but every version difference and
Oh
like,
wow, really?
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
give you like
Dude,
screenshots of the same place in the same game across different versions. So you'll have like Simon Belmont at the first part of level 1 on the NES, on the Famicom, on like the what was he on this? Was it ever on the Spectrum? Like
no, on the MSX.
MSX. Yeah, it'll just like slightly different looking sprites each time. It's kind of cool.
I know that I've been on the site for the Mega 10 games, but does he have a book on the Mega 10 games?
No.
But he would make one.
Okay.
He is a big fan of that series and knows a lot about it. There is a kind of a logistical issue with it because there is a lot of content that comes out for that series every year.
Yeah.
It is so popular now. It didn't used to be, but it is more before Persona 3 hit, it would probably be feasible.
Yeah, I was yeah.
But ever since then, the series is. I mean, I would go as far as to say there's probably 5 titles released every year now, 4 or 5. With the various spin-offs and such.
Not to mention there's like remakes. 3 different versions of Persona 3, 2 different versions of 4. It's like, goddamn.
Well, I think he would be up to the task on that. It's just, I don't think he wants to make a product that'll get like outdated very quickly. Yeah, he might. He has been doing smaller digest versions. Like he did smaller Data East and Taito books. Mm-hmm. He might be able to do like a digest every 2 years or something like that, every 3 years, to do an update. That would be something that he would probably do. But I think also a lot of his articles for that series need to be rewritten because they were done a long time ago, and he has like he's very stringent about his quality. Like he'll go back to some of his old writings and be like, this isn't good enough anymore. Like I've gotten a lot better. So that's also a thing too. So I think you could probably convince him though eventually to do something like that.
I would also love to see a From Software breakdown, especially like not even necessarily canonical Souls stuff like Kingsfield and Souls, but also stuff in that vein like Eternal Ring and Lost Kingdoms and stuff like that.
Did you hear what his next book is going to be? It's right up your alley.
Well, he just made NES Classics. Well, he did point out a book he was working on that he had. This isn't the Konami book, was it?
Nope. He's coming out with a horror themed one.
Hey,
just
okay.
like random horror.
That's great because like some of the games I've Let's Played that got like White Day, for example, was probably like my most popular Let's Play I've done in terms of views, and I would never have heard of it if not for like checking a website that was like top 7 weird horror games you've never heard of. So this book would probably be like great for stuff like that.
Yeah, he was telling me there will be games like Monster Party in it and like Splatterhouse and things like that.
Fucking that game is creepy, man.
And he'll probably I can't imagine he wouldn't include anything about the the Silent Hill games and Resident Evil games in there. So
you couldn't not include them.
They're the 2 most important horror series
and the greatest horror of all.
Exists.
So what's become of the Silent Hill series?
Yeah. But I think it's it's really cool that he's doing this stuff. I think he's doing such a cool thing. He may not be like totally supporting himself with it, but he's doing something he loves, and it's something that he can absolutely be proud of.
And he does have his fans, many of them international. Like people around the world know about hardcore gaming. Maybe not everybody, but there are people from tons of countries that use this site for their informational needs.
Absolutely. Well, we should move on here to our last subject of the night.
Yeah, this, I mean, it's appropriate because we're at about 45-50 minutes into this podcast, but we also don't have too much to talk about in this next subject because it's only just begun at the time of this recording. But we are back with Summer Games Done Quick, the speed running marathon, SGDQ. It has started today, Sunday. And I've already seen a few really entertaining runs like Spyro, Zelda Majora's Mask
Oh,
3.
Spyro. Wow.
Oh yeah, they've been doing Spyro. It's pretty rad. This was an any
Hmm.
percent run, so it's just get to the end of the game. Same goes with Majora's Mask 3D. I remember there was a Majora's Mask N64 100% run that was like 5 hours and change, which is a long time for a speed run, but still stupidly short for Majora's Mask. And the Majora's Mask 3D run was any percent, so again, I don't care what you have to skip, just get to the end credits. That was like around an hour and a half, which is again, even with glitches, that's crazy.
So Lotus, how do they stream the video from the 3DS?
I'm not 100%
version?
sure. My only guess is that they got that insanely expensive mod from Japan, because I don't know how else they would do it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because
So
there is the way that I do, where you, I mean, I say that I do like I do it regularly, but where you like where you soft mod your system and then stream it to your PC and record the stream, but that would definitely involve internet-based stuttering, which these GDQ things do not have. So I suspect they just paid out the nose for it.
Yeah, either that or they have a dev system. I would think
That's a
one of
good
the
point,
two.
actually, because Nintendo, well, any company does. You know, how else do you do trailers for your handheld games? I know that there are dev Vitas, so it would make sense that there are dev 3DSs. That would be cool as hell to get a hold of if I could.
Well, they also have them. They ship them out to publishers as well. So like you
Yeah.
know, like all the like US Gamer or IGM would have one of those dev systems as well. So
Yeah, that would be insanely cool to have.
yeah, I'm just interested because I would imagine that not too many of those guys practice on a streamable system unless they have the soft mod or unless they got that mod from
True,
Japan.
true.
Yeah, and even for the regular DS, I suspect that it was a similar scenario, because otherwise the only way you could get DS footage would be like an emulator, and there's no way they're doing that.
Yeah, that's really a shame. It's like that because I'm glad that the Switch has gotten rid of that problem. Because that has been such a big problem with a lot of portable games in general.
Yeah.
Is that you can't share them. You can't play them on a TV.
That was one thing I couldn't believe, that a couple versions of the PSP had component out. Like, that was so cool. And then the Vita, and I think even the PSP Go just dropped that. I would love...
No, the PSP Go has
It does have
video
that?
out.
Wonderful. But even so, the Vita doesn't. Like, I would love if if handheld systems had Vita out. Like, there are compensations for the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance with the Game Boy Player, and even the Super Game Boy back in the day. But the DS and 3DS and the Vita... Well, the DS and 3DS, you are straight up out of luck without outside mods. With the Vita, there is the PlayStation TV, but that doesn't work for everything because anything that involves motion controls just will not happen. Like the Vita Monkey Ball, for example.
Sure. Well, are there any other runs that you're excited for this year, or games in particular that you really want to watch?
I'm afraid I haven't checked the schedule, so I can't tell you what is coming up that I'm looking for, but I can tell you that my favorite kinds of runs are 100% Banjo-Kazooie, 100% Super Mario Sunshine, because they're so damn technical.
Oh yeah, those are a lot of fun to watch.
Speaking of which, I am sure that they're gonna do Mario Odyssey. Like, I wouldn't be like I can't believe that they wouldn't have a Mario Odyssey. So if they had that, I would love to see that, because that game's also insanely technical.
I think on Mario Sunshine they have a no flood run category, which
yeah.
is nuts.
It's
to me.
possible, but and again, it really shows off how technical they can even get. What else was there? There was those runs. One thing I also look forward to. This is like an unofficial name, but it's gotten to the point where I would love to see Splatoon 1 or 2 as well, because those were damn good when I saw
Those
them.
are a lot of fun. Yeah, I
but
like those.
one thing I'm also looking forward to, though, is they try to have this every time, is they'll have just a section set aside for a bunch of just bad games in a row, and
I
it's
love
kind
those.
of unofficially known as Awful Games Done Quick. And a lot of them are like the NES and SNES, like before there was real quality control on like just games just not being just crap. So a lot of those games are short too. Like they're impossible because they're like they take forever because they're hard. But
like Jekyll and Hyde and stuff like
yeah,
that.
you're not. You'll take hours to beat that because the game's stupid hard. But like if you're a speedrunner, you know what to do. So like it's cool to see like those are like popcorn games. You watch a bunch of crappy games that are fun to laugh at with usually fun commentary, and they're quick. So like it's not like time to watch a speed run and it's like 4 hours because it's like Chrono Trigger. So
and of a really shitty game.
yeah, but I mean even then, but like games I would like to watch like Kingdom Hearts, like I really got to set aside time in my day. But like one of these awful games, it's funny. It's like 15 minutes, you know, all right. It's good times.
My favorite runs are of obscure games that I wouldn't expect people to do, like that one you showed me of the Master System Ninja Gaiden, which the Master System Ninja Gaiden is actually one of my favorite games. I love that game.
That runner was the funniest damn guy too.
But
that guy was
it was really entertaining, and I loved his performance. It was just really good. I like those. I like the bad games, but I also like new games because like brand new games because like I'm playing this game too, and these people are playing this game in this way that I never
would have thought of.
They had Skyward Sword last year. They had Splatoon when it was new, and like needless to say, that was kind of like the big. You know, everybody's in the room at once. You know, this is how we're starting our show. You know, big draw, and they usually do a pretty big game to close out the show too. They've done Final Fantasy IV. They've done Mario RPG. I gotta say, I actually got like because that's one of those games that I grew up with in middle school. Even though I didn't have an SNES, I got like legitimately emotional when GDQ was closing out with like Mario RPG's ending credits because I didn't realize that the theme resonated with me as much as it did.
And you started crying?
Oh, I was Mario RPG weeping all over my keyboard. It was pathetic. I had to wipe off my keyboard. No, it was an amazing run though as well. And they've done Paper Mario. They've done Chrono Trigger. That was also damn good. It was really satisfying, even though because it's a 24-hour stream. I think I was up till some stupid hour, like 3 a.m. or whatever. But like, I kind of want to see live Chrono Trigger end. You know, it's like I gotta. It was really good.
Well, I can't wait to see what they end up coming up with this week. We'll certainly react to it once it's all done next week on Recon on Tuesday.
Yeah, when we started recording this podcast, the guy was in the last 20 minutes of Doom 2016. And when I say the last 20 minutes, I mean out of 50 minutes.
Yeah,
like the estimated time was under an hour because it's a Bethesda game, so you can go out of bounds and do bullshit like a lot.
Yeah, I love any game where there's weird fucking physics. Like Splatoon has weird physics to it, so like there's all kinds of weird stuff you can do in that game to skip parts.
With Splatoon though, you're utilizing in-game physics. Like I'm actually not as much a fan of when you go out of bounds and just jump in weird shit you can't understand, and then it's like at the end of the level, even though it's really
like Portal's like that.
Yeah, Portal's really intense.
Yeah.
Like even though that takes a ton of skill, it's not as fun for me to watch except for what the commentator is actually saying. What I like is when you properly utilize in-game physics, even if it's to get skips, you're still doing things that can reasonably be done in the game. Like, again, Mario Sunshine or Splatoon. It's just like, especially because Splatoon, in at least Splatoon 1, you could skip a whole world out of 8. I think you skip like World 5 or whatever. But the rest of the worlds you do, you're just really goddamn good at the game. And those are my favorite things to watch. It's just like, it's not exploiting glitches, it's just you can tell I've practiced this for 1,000 hours. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we will give an update next week on Recon. So that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the new Corrective Consciousness YouTube page. Please do follow the link if you are watching this on Lotus Prince's channel. Please go to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube channel, comment, and subscribe. And join us on the Soundcloud page as well, which hasn't changed at all. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture.
I still gotta get used to that.
You're inane. You'll get over it.
Yo, what?
Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, and Switch.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, and getting in on a Discord chat with me and every other patron, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon channel, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on Steam, PSN, Battle.net, probably many other places as Cloudoid540 or PyroJackFrost.
Lovely. Well, we will catch you on Thursday, everyone.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye, everybody.